Hi there, it's Joshua Barks with Keller Williams Realty Boise and the Barks & Co. Real Estate team. Here is this month's update in Ada County's existing housing market for everything that happened in the month of June. So June 2020, we'll dive right into those numbers, and then next week we'll continue our weekly update on the weekly numbers. Here are the market dynamics for Ada County's existing home sales for what's happened in the month of June 2020. So this is the resale side, so existing. It doesn't count new construction because that market behaves differently than what we see on the resale side. And right away, I'm seeing inventory levels at extremely low rates. And as always, I like to start with the upper left with market trends, then dive down into the average sold price appreciation just to kind of give us a look there, and then the pricing breakdown. So we'll just dive right into that. Market trends. The black bar is the number of closed sales that happened in that month. This is a 1 year on a month over month rolling scale. Then we have the gray bar with pending sales, and then the red line being the number of active and available homes on the market. So inventory came down drastically again. 484 homes available on the market, which is just barely to what we saw barely more than what we saw in December of this last year. 402 homes were on the market in December. We have 484 on the market right now. And in June of last year, we had 893. So less than half of what we saw for the number of available homes this same time last year, though the number of sales, we had 827 that closed this June. Last June, we had 893. So the number of sales is down just slightly, but the pendings have come up by about a little over 100. So we have 1,087 that are pending in the month of June, and last June, we had 952 that were pending. So I do anticipate the number of sales, if inventory doesn't start to come up again, I anticipate the number of sales to continue to decline because there just aren't enough homes to sell. Now, another thing to note is with the number of pendings being twice that of the number of active sales, we're likely to see, and I have seen it in some regard, the number of back on markets or contracts that aren't staying together increase slightly, whereas typically what we see is 1 in 5 for Ada County fall through. So that's either they can't agree on inspection with buyer and seller, or the buyer changes their mind, gets cold feet, or another house comes on the market that the buyer wants more, so they terminate and then try to go for that other one. And this year we're seeing, people are getting furloughed or losing their jobs. So then the buyer no longer qualifies, or things like that kind of take place too. There are kind of a lot of variables there, but with interest rates being at another historic low, according to Freddie Mac, the average interest rate for a 30-year fixed right now is 3.03%, which is crazy because I have lenders here in town that are telling me that we can get clients interest rates at 2.75, 2.8. It's crazy. Money is basically free to borrow right now because it's never been this low. Likely will never be this low again. I know we're kind of a broken record, been saying that, and it's still continuing to decline. But if you're thinking about refinancing and you didn't do it back in March when rates were like 3.5% and what have you, now might be a great time. So just reach out to me. I can hook you up with some great lenders to give you some great deals and make that happen for you. And with appreciation coming up so far this year, you might even have a nice return on that too. A little bit of equity there. You could work on some home improvement projects or things like that. Again, when we're diving into that inventory, we do need it to come up. So prices are going to continue to appreciate as long as that inventory stays low. So if you're thinking about selling could be a great time because things are still moving very quickly out there. When we're talking about the appreciation, as I mentioned, we've come up 4.4% so far this year since January 1 of 2020, hovering just below $380,000 for Ada County's existing sales price. Now, what we saw this same time last year was 5.3% in the average sales price for June of 2019, which leads me to believe that my prediction for the end of this year will likely remain true. Last year, we came up 11.5% in the average sold price. I predict 2020 for Ada County's existing market to appreciate by at least 8%. My initial prediction was that we would end around 10%. That is still my prediction. So I anticipate we'll be, close to 9 or 10% by the end of the year on the average sold price. Then when we dive into the pricing breakdown overall, our days on market have stayed pretty much the same for like several months now, 25 days on market overall. Then when we dive into the inventory, so the absorption rate, we have come down. Last month we saw 1 month supply, and so far this month, for June of 2020, we're at 0.7 months. And if this is your first time joining me on this, the month supply just simply means that how long would it take to sell out of all the homes that are available if no new homes came on the market and demand stayed the same. And so in Ada County, in less than 1 month, if demand stayed the same and 0 new homes hit the market, we'd be completely sold out of homes in 0.7 months. So overall, they say anything between or less than 4 months supply is considered a seller's market. Anything beyond 6 months is considered a buyer's market. And then between 4 and 6 months is when we see what's called a balanced market. So as you can see, our inventory levels are less than a month, all the way up to $500,000 in purchase price, which is crazy because last month we had less than a month supply up to $350,000. This makes sense because the inventory has dropped off dramatically. So that makes sense why that number would be decreasing. And we're still under 2 months all the way up to $600,000, which is also incredible. So basically, if your home is less than $600,000 and it's not selling, you might be overpriced, or maybe it's not in as good of shape that it needs to be, and you need to put a little bit into it to make it more marketable, or maybe just the marketing's not working. So there are a lot of things that you can control there. And if your house isn't selling, average 25 days on market and with less than a month supply, the buyers are out there. We just need that inventory so bad. Above $1 million, we're in a slightly balanced market, but we're still what's considered a seller's market up to $1 million in all of Ada County, which is just absolutely incredible. The $1 million market, buyers do have more choices, and we still had 85 sales in the last 12 months. So overall, things are still looking pretty good. The spring market started a little bit late this year, which is understandable for what's happened here in March and April. So we started seeing spring market activity in May, June, and still so much in July, but that inventory number has still kind of taken a decline, which is very interesting because typically what we see in the summertime, especially around the 4th of July, is things tend to slow down just a little bit as people are distracted with summer vacations and what have you. It's a great time for buyers that don't want to compete so much usually because you have fewer buyers because, like I said, vacations, and there are sellers that want to sell because you can go on vacation and sell your house. So if you're thinking about when might be the best time for me to buy, sell, invest, basically what it comes down to, like I've always said, is do you have a good enough reason to move right now? And then can you afford it? Like I said, with interest rates being at 3% and me having local lenders here that are quoting under 3% for various programs, can you afford it? That might be more affordable now than ever. So if you answered yes to both of those questions, just contact us today. We can help uncover what's going to work best for you, your specific situation, and come up with a pricing strategy that makes sense, as well as a game plan on your next purchase. All right, so there you have it. That's everything that took place in the month of June. As you can see, spring has sprung late this year. We are in considering spring market conditions, though our inventory desperately needs to come up. That problem is still prevalent out there. If you're looking at what's happening on a weekly basis, our inventory has ticked up slightly. Instead of 484 available homes, we're back at 500. 502, something like that. It's still incredibly low. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing, it's never been more crucial to have a real estate professional by your side advocating for your interests. So if you're thinking about buying and selling, or you know someone that's thinking about buying and selling, give us a call. Let us know. We're happy to discuss what your specific situation is, what your goals are, and then set up a strategy to get you where you want to be. It's never too early to start, and we're always here to help. Well, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week with the weekly market update.